Hey guys, Alex from 7th Hour Films back again with Demon Slayer. Last time we started Season 3 with Someone's Dream. Basically, a lot of stuff happened that resulted in Tanjiro waking up 2 months after the Entertainment District arc, finally healing his injuries, and eventually, after going through rehabilitation training again, he was able to, he's not fully healed, technically. He's not back out on an official mission yet, but he is on his way, or he is at now, the Swordsmith Village, because, he needs a sword, and Mr. Hagenezka has not provided a new one yet. So he went there, ran into the Love Hashira, and then at the end, he ran into the Mist Hashira, and then saw that there was someone else there, someone who looks a hell of a lot like his dad. Maybe. We're not sure anymore. We're not sure if that really is his dad. We're not sure about anything in life. Because he also looks like the rank 1 of the 12 Kizuki, upper 1. So we have a lot of questions going into this, and maybe they'll be answered. Probably not. We'll be lucky if we get one question answered, so yeah. Like always, the reaction is down in the description and in the pinned comment for your viewing pleasure. So let's go ahead and jump right into this episode of Demon Slayer. Here we go. Okay. Wow. We did get an answer. We did get an answer, and I am happy for it. So, actually from here I can pretty much speculate the rest of the answers, which is amazing. You never get that, where you end an episode with 10,000 questions, and then the next episode, you can pretty much answer them all. Neat. So, what we saw in the dream was not Tanjiro's real father, but his ancestor. Presumably from 300 years ago, when he was saved by a demon slayer who wore those same earrings. Presumably, Tanjiro's ancestor, who, eerily looked just like him, but Tanjiro's ancestor presumably then started wearing those earrings. There could be a bit more there. Obviously, we don't fully know what happened to the swordsman. My guess would be somehow, for some reason, he ended up becoming a demon. He fell to Muzan Kibutsuji. And we have seen him, specifically him, more him than his father, than Tanjiro's father, but more of that guy in the memories of Muzan. So, if I were to guess, he was a great, I would imagine he must have been a sun breather. Specifically, his scar, the mark on his face, is the same mark that appeared when Tanjiro cut off Gyutaro's head. So, I'm assuming that's the true mark of a sun breather, Which means, it's not something you are born with, as we speculated with Mr. Rengoku's father, but it is something that just appears, It is if you are worthy of being a true sun breather, So yeah, for him, he was a sun breather. He may be the pioneer of sun breathers. Who knows? He could have been the leader of the Demon Slayer Corps. We don't know. We don't know much about him. However, he did fight Muzan Kibutsuji. What I can only assume then is he lost. He was turned into a demon. And as Upper One, as we pointed out last episode, he pretty much has none of his humanity left. Because that's, in terms of the ranks, there's more humanity the further down you go in the ranks. So, for him, he just doesn't have almost any of it. So that's an interesting thing. And then 300 years later, you have Tanjiro's father, who looks a heck of a lot like looks a heck of a lot like the swordsman. I mean, their hair, again, was very similar, just in the color. So, so that, he just styled his hair after the hero of his ancestor. And while he was a sickly man, he used this technique, presumably taught by the Sunbreather, in order to perform the Hinokami Kagura dance, which has now been passed to Tanjiro, the first in this family for 300 years, the first in this family to be a demon slayer, and he has used it to bring in the power of sun breathing that the lone swordsman had 300 years ago. And at some point they made a mechanical doll based on him. I have just solved the entire plot of Demon Slayer, except I'm sure I haven't. I'm sure there's stuff that I'm clearly missing, but I feel like I got a lot out of that. So that was good. I mean, just on last episode, when it's just like, so wait, was the guy we saw not even Tanjiro's dad? And it's like, no, he was. And now this explains, why it's like, well, so was he a demon slayer before he got sick? And it's like, no, I don't think he was. But he carried on this tradition through his family that most likely started with the young man who, just had his child and was saved by the swordsman, probably adapting what he saw into the Hinokami Kagura dance. So yeah, really good. I like that. It's strange. I feel like we never really do that in anime, where it's like, especially too, because we do not have any of these questions really, aside from, who was the man in Muzan's memories, That was sort of our main thing, and it's like, well, is it Tanjiro's dad? Like, we didn't really know. So there was some mystery there, but they left us with 10,000 questions last episode, and I feel like most of them have either been answered, or I'm comfortable enough with my theories that when I do get the answer, I'm ready for it, So, yeah, I feel like we don't normally have that, especially in anime. Anime especially will just love to be like, it's like, oh, here's these 10 million questions, and we'll see you in 4 seasons when we give you the answer. Oh, God. So, honestly, yeah, for this, I'm pretty satisfied, which is kind of weird. It's like, I'm kind of left here well, is it better if you leave those questions unanswered? And I'm going to say it's a double-edged sword. Because while I think this was incredibly fast, you could have let that mystery, fester for a bit, bring it back to the end, at the end of the season or something. You can have that kind of, mystery going on. And obviously there is still a mystery about who is this swordsman? What happened to him? Is he actually Upper One? Or is he not? Is that his twin brother? Is that his evil side? We don't really know. There is a lot still left unanswered. But at the same time, you could, and I'm not going to say the name of it because I cannot keep bringing it up every episode, but you could be like another anime that had a mystery that it kept building up and building up and building up for 3 seasons, and at the end of the 3rd season, they finally gave you all the answers you've wanted. And I'll just say, it tanked the show. For me, anyway, it tanked the show. So I'm more okay with this because, it's almost like a risk-reward kind of thing, Where it's if you can build it up and you can get that reward, but the longer you build it up, the more risk of that reveal falling flat on its face, Which I feel like that's not even, this anime or the one I'm, vaguely referring to. But I feel like that's a lot of things, where it's like, if you wait so long on a big reveal, especially nowadays, people are going to come up with all of their own theories and post them on, Twitter or Reddit or I'm sorry, I should say on X or doesn't exist anymore or, whatever you want, So or they'll, post so many theory videos on YouTube, and then you finally get the answer, and it's very likely that you could drop the ball. So I'm okay with this, and not that this was a big thing, like, this would have broken the internet or something. Like, no, this is just something, an interesting mystery established at the beginning of the 3rd season of this show. But I'm glad to already have some payoff for it, Like, I think that is really good. So yeah. So some good stuff. I'm okay with this, even though, yeah, I was not expecting any of these questions to be answered or to possibly be answered in this episode. So, yeah, I'm pretty good with it. So, but yeah, good stuff. I like the idea just of the doll. Like, even apart from the lore and everything and the mystery of the swordsman, like, I just like the idea of this doll, because it's such an interesting thing. Like, I love this kind of stuff, which this is kind of my thing where, like, I love the period that this is set in, this early 1900s setting of the Taisho era. Like, that is just such an interesting, thing where it's like, it's just starting to become modern, but it's not quite modern, like, there is still so much traditional Japanese stuff going on. And I like the idea with this, this doll that's almost, I mean, I would say, like, you could almost argue this is sort of a steampunk kind of thing. Steampunk-ish, but just that sort of style. I just love this sort of, this mechanical thing, And I love, too, because with this, especially because they say, it was made 300 years ago. I like stuff like this sort of almost like clockwork kind of aesthetic, where it's like, it's mechanical, but it's all completely analog, like, it's all just gears turning, all these gears just turn within this body, and somehow that creates all these sword moves that are actually genuinely difficult to combat, especially for Tanjiro. Maybe not so much for Tokito, but yeah, like, that's such an interesting idea, And I love, too, how they say, like, the only way to replicate the moves of that swordsman was to give it 6 arms, Like, this guy who probably only used one sword, it just didn't work. They could not copy him to any extent mechanically, so in order to even somewhat do it. And obviously, it's still not perfect, because whoever this guy was incredible, And if he is the guy who faced Muzan Kibutsuji, that's pretty damn powerful. But obviously, this doll doesn't even compare. It's not a thing of like, well, we can replace demon slayers with these mechanical dolls. Obviously not. Because, Tokito, like, it was good training for Tokito, but he was never injured, He wasn't injured. The most he had was he snapped his sword, For Tanjiro, it is a challenge. I would love to see, Zenitsu and Inosuke also dealing with this thing. Like, that would be really cool. And I hope that, just because I don't want the gap to be so wide between their power levels, which I don't think there is, because honestly, I feel like this show doesn't even care about power levels, It's just like, the characters will do what they need to do to advance the story, So, when you have, like, in the last arc, when you have Zenitsu, going thunderclap and flash, godlike speed, and he's just going nuts, going all over the entertainment district, trying to cut Daki's head, and it's like, oh, he's running out of strength. And then Inosuke just shows up. Like, he doesn't start doing the beast breathing, godlike speed, or anything like that. He shows up when he's, been stabbed nearly through his heart and everything, and he's been poisoned. It's like, he's just keeping up, So honestly, I don't think this show really cares about power levels, Like, I definitely feel like it's supposed to be like, look, the boys will fight, and the boys will make it through this, It's just that right now, we don't need Zenitsu or Inosuke in this story. This one is just going to be Tanjiro, along with Tokito and Mitsuri. So that's all we need. We don't need the other boys. They'll be back, and they'll still be good. So, which I like that. I like being able to sort of not care about power levels, because so many shonen anime, especially when there's a group, it's like, okay, here's a group. That's great. But the main character has to be OP, you know? The main character has to reach these incredible heights. So to try to, keep... if you have to specifically be like, well, we have to care about power levels, we have to show why the other characters can keep up, it can work, and it also can't work. A good example, Dragon Ball Z works. You can see how Vegeta keeps up with Goku, even though Goku's always ahead, versus Dragon Ball Super, where I swear they kind of just don't care about Vegeta and be like, and Vegeta's here too. It's like, okay, are you going to do anything with this character? No. Okay, whatever. Yeah. Anyway, I gotta quit doing these tangents about other anime. I don't know. But yeah, so suffice to say, if we can roll the train back a little bit, roll the tape back, I like the doll. Very interesting idea. And a good fake out for like, oh, it's the swordsman, maybe it's his dad, what's going on? It's like, oh, it's doll from 300 years ago. So, and then as soon as the head comes off and you see the sword, it's like, oh, that's what Mitsuri was talking about. Which, honestly, it makes sense. I'm willing to bet you that sword does nothing for you. That sword doesn't actually make you stronger, but the quest to find it does. Which, again, because we talked about, we kind of mentioned this last episode, but that's a thing, again, in Dragon Ball, where, it's like, oh, Korin has, like, the ultra divine water or something like that, and it's like, oh, this thing will make you stronger, Goku, and he drinks it, and nothing really happens, but it's like, oh, but he's stronger, and it's like, yeah, because he climbed up the whole fucking tower that reaches into the sky, past airplanes. It's like he climbed all the way up there. That's why he got strong, and he did that multiple times, technically, So it's like, yeah, that's the reason that Goku actually got stronger, and it's the same thing here. That sword will not make Tanjiro stronger, but fighting that doll did. So, and I like how they also point out, how Tanjiro will sometimes hesitate, and this, because that did slightly happen. I think it was more just for just sort of in a dramatic sense, in a sort of, television, fictional aspect, when he thought about Gyotaro and Daki, and I got burp. Okay, I had to leave a pause there so that I would remember to edit that out, hopefully. But anyway, he was thinking about Gyotaro and Daki, and he thought about, like, they could have been us. We could have been them, basically. Like, Tanjiro was like, oh, I was lucky enough to remain a human, even though my sister became a demon, but they both became demons, and there was easily a future where we could have been like them, But I don't think he actually hesitated there, which is why he didn't cut off Gyotaro's head in that instant. I don't think it's that, but yes, I like how here, that the kid, I've already forgotten his name, I feel bad now, but the kid was like, don't hesitate. Sometimes you are too nice, which I think is honestly something that the fandom kind of screams, mainly when we delve into the backstory and Tanjiro has this sort of sympathy, not forgiveness, but just sympathy. I think that can be a bit iffy with some of the fandom, but anyway, so yeah, so that was interesting. I did really like the part where it's like, oh, he was crossing over and then he fell into the river, and it was this like goofy thing, but then he did kind of learn something. He can basically, he learned the scent of an attack, which is really good, really useful. He could use that, and it's like he knows now where these attacks are coming from, not just in his mind but with his scent, and it's something basically different from the opening thread, so, which is kind of weird. I always thought the opening thread was kind of weird, but I get it. It's a good visualization of, seeing the path to ending the fight, basically. So that was good. And then we did get Mr. Hageneska, who I guess he's not really missing, like he wasn't taken or anything, but he does not want to face Tanjiro for some reason. So, and we also did get Tokito, the Mist Hashira. I'm still curious if he is related to Tomioka. That would be interesting, but I feel like that would have been brought up. I don't know. But yeah, he almost kind of gives off that same vibe, except he doesn't care, He's just very singularly focused. And he's a cowboy, I'm better than everyone else because I'm a Hashira. And that's not me being mean, that's just me being like, yeah, I am a Hashira, so that's just that, So, I don't know. And again, he doesn't do it intentionally. That's just how he is. So I don't know, but he's all right. So yeah, I guess that's it. Good stuff, and I'm curious to see where we are going next. But that is basically it. With all that being said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around any of those. There's a playlist with all of my Demon Slayer reactions, as well as another video you can go click on if you want. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.